lads, welcome back to Who's Got the Ball. Myself and Shane here. How's things, Shane?
Good, can't complain. Munster did the job at the weekend, did the decent thing. Hopefully they can somehow go over there and do a decent thing again next weekend. Other than that, there was no football played because Liverpool lost, so we don't talk about it. So, and the Manchester Derby might as well not have been played. So,
Oh, tragic stuff altogether.
oh,
Absolutely
incredibly bad,
awful.
yeah. Wasn't
Yeah,
even
it
a
was just
derby match.
not at all. Even when there was a bit of fisticuffs there for like a second, they couldn't even follow through on that. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
nothing, literally nothing happened for 90 minutes. It was really, really impressive stuff. Other than that, all good. Can't really complain.
yeah, yeah, it was a good win by Munster, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
going over there
massive.
and getting the win, and then you're gonna have another big one over there, and if you win that, another big one over
Another
there.
big one, yeah.
So
Just
France is the location to get to the final now if you need to get all the way. But yeah, handy win for Leinster too. There's no real
yeah,
contest there
Dave,
about
just
that.
a that was one of the easiest. It was actually embarrassing how easy it was for them against Harlequins. Like, just it was
Yeah,
like anytime they wanted to score, we're just like, okay, let's go add another 7 points there now, and we'll just take a break then for 5 minutes and score another. Just
yeah,
Harlequins,
that's it. Like,
Harlequins didn't want it at all. Didn't want to be there.
nah, they weren't in it at all. I think they had themselves ruled out, to be honest, before they even got there. But
Yeah,
we've got some big topics to hit today, so we're gonna jump straight into it. We've got a guest, so let's go straight into
Right,
that.
lads. So we're going to chat draft now with Conall. Conall does some of his own work with his own podcast and stuff, but also he's got some stuff going on with Pro Football Ireland. So myself and Shane aren't going to pretend that we're college football experts, but this man knows what he's talking about. So he's going to guide us through now some of the top prospects. So appreciate you for coming on, man. How's things?
Yeah, it's all going very good at the moment. I'll be heading to the draft in, when is it, 2 weeks now. So that'll be, that'll be. I mean, that'll be a massive experience for us at least. It's the first one we've got to go to. So really looking forward to that. And it's very rewarding. When you get to watch players the whole year, and then everyone's like, okay, I think this guy's good, and you're like, oh, hang on, I've seen him play. Like I know I know what this guy's
yeah,
good at and he's not good at. But then you're also going back and being like, okay, I was actually a bit wrong about this guy, and he's much better than I thought. Or especially some of the smaller school guys, because like it's impossible, especially if you're in Ireland, to watch every
Yeah,
single match. You're really just trying to get the key ones every few weeks, and like you do miss a couple of guys, and there's a couple of guys here that I wasn't, I was familiar maybe with their names, but not watching them. But there's a lot of really good players in this draft, especially at like a lot of different positions as well.
yeah, but yeah, it's class having any Irish media over at the draft, but especially so for yourself, like if you're going to be there in person, and obviously you've been at games, college games in Ireland and in the US, which is absolutely unreal. Like it's just as you said to see things in the flesh, and you're kind of building up your I suppose what your takes are on things, which is really interesting. So it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm just going to quickly run through for everybody listening. I'm just going to run through the top 10 picks coming up in the draft in a few weeks. So who has what? And in case you're unsure, guys, we got the Titans at number one, Cleveland Browns number two, New York Giants for my gorgeous Giants at three, New England Patriots at four, Jags at five, Las Vegas Raiders at six, Shane's Jets at seven. God help us, we're both in the top 10. Panthers at eight, Saints at nine, and the Bears at 10. So I think, like, if you look anywhere in terms of what the Titans need, first of all, but also what everyone is projecting, it seems to be Cam Ward number one. Are you falling on that line too?
Yeah, he's not the best player in this draft. Like if you go on a pure, who's if you're going best player available, he's not the best player. But because quarterback is the most important position, and a team as well. Like you watched them last year, like the Will Levis experience, the Mason Rudolph experience didn't really work out, and I was a bit of a Will Levis apologizer, and I do think there is a chance just deep down. I think they might not even like. I think they might no, not about Will Levis. I think they might just stick with him another year and just see if
Yeah.
they can get, because next year's quarterbacks look at least a bit better. With Arch Manning and some of the other guys coming through. Although with Arch Manning, we still don't even know if he's actually good or not. He's played so little, but then Yeah, Cam Ward. I mean, the best comparison, probably like his ceiling or kind of his best comparison, is sort of like a Jordan Love sort of quarterback, where he's going to turn the ball over. His footwork, all that sort of stuff isn't great, but like you see the way he plays, he's really athletic. He works really well, especially off script. Like he knows what he's doing. I mean, he threw, some of them he threw like 50 something touchdowns this year. It's weird because like some of the games where they were putting up a load of points, they were maybe inflating his numbers a bit. I think it was against Duke or something like that. They were playing a game, and they had it won within like the last 2 minutes. They were fairly home and dry, and they were still going for it. They were passing for it, like there was 5 yards until the goal line, and they were just passing the ball. And I think he ended up fumbling it anyway. So, and that has been a concern as well. People are worried about the fumbles, but that's not something I'm too worried about. Like it's only really in the NFL that I start worrying about fumbles and all that. But I think he's an amazing player. He doesn't have a top 5 quarterback in the league sort of arm, but it's perfectly serviceable. He has a lot of growing, I think, left to do, which I think is honestly would really help him. Especially with Callahan there as the head coach. I think he's shown that he can really coach quarterbacks like he did with the Bengals as well. And his dad is coaching the offensive line, and he's one of the best of all time. So you have their structure there. They have some really good weapons, especially in Tennessee as well. So I think he's being set up, I think, fairly well to succeed, which is something you don't really see a lot with quarterbacks. I mean, you can look at Drake May last year, where he was kind of just thrown into the fire and did extremely well given the circumstances. But Cam Ward, maybe in his first season there'll be a couple bumps, but I think as the year goes on, I think he'll get a lot more comfortable, and I think he'll be a good quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I was actually pretty high on the Titans last year, and I thought after the rough start they had, I still thought that they had some of the pieces there. Obviously, I was miles off in the end, but yeah, I was on the similar boat to you that I thought Will Levis could possibly turn this thing around a little bit and get them to close to a winning season, but obviously not. But I think slotting somebody like Cam Ward, like you said, who's not going to light the world on fire, but he has a decent ceiling, and it's an improvement, and it's going to get a buzz in Tennessee as well, which is something they haven't had in a little while. So I think it's nice. It would be nice to see him land there. I think you touched on the fact that he's probably not the best player in the draft, but I think you probably will touch on who it is next. But I think 2, 3, 4 are quite an interesting run of picks here where things could go. So who do you think is number one in your eyes in terms of talent, but also what way do you see that little run going of picks?
Yeah, I was kind of messing around earlier, just like before this, being like, okay, if I did like just a quick mock draft, what would I pick, or who would I pick for each team? And I think there was a thing that came out last night or the night before that said the Browns intend on taking Travis Hunter, and I think Travis Hunter I think he's the best player in the draft. Like I think there was someone tweeted out where it was like, the last time a wide receiver was picked, this high, was Calvin Johnson, and then like I can't remember who the last cornerback taken this high was, but the fact that there hasn't been a cornerback taken, with like a top 3 pick in however long is insane, and the fact that this guy is not only an amazing wide receiver but also an amazing cornerback.
The Ohtani of the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's an insane player, and like I there was a while I was like, okay, people have been putting Abdul Carter, as the best player in this draft. But I think if you're the best player in 2 positions, I think the only knock you can really have on Travis Hunter is the fact that he can't commit more time to being a better cornerback or being a better wide receiver. That's the only knock like you can put on his skill. And even then, he's the best player in the draft at 2 positions. Like that's insane. And I think the Browns GM, Andrew Berry, I think he said that he sees Hunter as a wide receiver, just like whenever the pro day was last week. I think he got interviewed and he said that, but he's a really special player. Some of the best hands you'll ever see, whether it be defensively or on the offensive side as well. Like he's going to get interceptions and he's going to make really difficult catches, to get a touchdown. Like that's how good a player he is. He just moves so easily. He has amazing coverage in man or zone as well. There was one of the games where he's literally like he's left alone on the side of the field, and one of the safeties is like overcommitted basically into the middle of the field, and he's having to guard two guys at one time. And because he's Travis Hunter, like he's going to be able to run as far back as he needs to get the guy over the top, or just tackle the guy for a short gain. Like it's a no lose situation with him out there. And again, like as I said, the only downside to having him on your team is that you have to decide, where you want to train him more at. But I think in the NFL as well, like you just have to see which one he's better at, and if he's still amazing at both positions, you just keep playing him. And until it becomes basically a health issue for him, where like he just can't take the physical strain of it, you then like pull back on one, or try and even it out between the two of them.
Yeah, I think we were kind of discussing this before when we were talking about. Yeah, I think it was a bit of buzz for a while that he could end up with the Giants when Abdul Carter was tipped to go to the Browns. But yeah, now it seems like it could reverse that. But yeah, I would have loved him at the Giants. I think I mentioned to you, Shane, like how well he would fit in, and we were both speaking on teams that needed two positions. Like as somebody who can cover two
Yeah.
positions, the Giants are a prime example of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
I
think
think when we were talking as well, we had him in as like we both thought that he would end up playing corner. Was
yeah.
when we were talking, we were like,
I
Joe,
think
he is the elite hands of a wide receiver in corner will be unreal for a team who has struggled kind of defensively over the last couple of years. If you had a corner like him in there, it would make a world of difference to defense. Then you try and just build around that then.
that's the thing. Like, because I think he is a more natural corner anyway, and I think at least if let's say if you're in like a training load, I'd much rather him train more as a cornerback, because I feel like if you're a wide receiver, like especially with how just good of an athlete he is, he's going to find ways to get open and
yeah,
catch the ball anyway. Whether he has the chemistry with a quarterback, that's kind of a different thing. But I do think training him more as a cornerback is probably more beneficial. But then like whenever I watch and stuff, or you watch just even highlights and you see the catches he makes, like offensively, you're like, that would be such a waste, like to
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Especially in a league that's predominantly offense first, I think in terms of the minds of those consuming and also broadcasting the sport, I think
yeah.
to give up on a talent like that, I think it could be a possibility that not to say before somebody's in the league that it won't work out, but if Cam Ward didn't really work out and we're looking at Travis Hunter being like an elite talent on both sides, the Titans fans will be scratching their heads like, how do we let this guy go?
And even the fact that maybe with the next pick, the Giants would get Abdul Carter, who by all intents and purposes looks like he's going to be a game breaker. I mean, everyone has been putting these guys 1 and 2 since the end of the season, basically. Like, they're two amazing players. Abdul Carter as well, like basically like the one comparison everyone's been making is the Micah Parsons thing, obviously because
Yeah,
they went to the same college, they're
yeah,
about the same size, both played linebacker at Penn State, but then kind of converted to more edge rusher roles, albeit Abdul Carter actually played more edge rusher in
yeah,
college than Micah Parsons got to do. So I think he probably comes in a bit more refined as a pass rusher, which is something, if you told someone coming out of the draft that Micah Parsons, if you told someone a couple of years ago you're getting a more refined pass rusher than Micah Parsons, I think they would, they'd be worried about how good this player is. And you only really worry about him really in the run game just because he's a little bit shorter, but because he's so good at everything else, I don't really think that matters that much. And even I think it was the Boise State playoff game. I mean, he was causing havoc, and I know that Boise State line isn't going to have like NFL level talent on
yeah.
it, but he's mixing and matching. He can go against guards, he can go against tackles. It really doesn't matter. He's going to beat whoever's in front of him, and I don't think that changes in the NFL. Whether the Giants take him, I think that's really the question, because
I'm
they
honestly
have
worried about that right now because
because they have some good pass rushers, but it's like I think you do just have to take best player available,
yeah, yeah,
and there's quarterbacks in this draft that are fine, like they're not great, but there's even a chance that it's supposedly people are saying that Shadur Sanders won't get past like the Saints at 9, or something around that range. And even then, if I was the Saints, personally, I wouldn't take him. I'd just wait until next year.
Yeah.
But like he's a good player. I definitely have some concerns with him, but I think if you're the Giants, you just need to pick best player available and just see just throw a second round pick at a quarterback, or
Yeah.
if you think Jackson Dart is a good player, just trade up at the end of the first round and try and pick him up.
Yeah, I think the fact of the only reason it worries me as well is I don't think the Giants are going to take Shador, to be honest. I
Yeah, I
honestly
don't think
don't,
so
but
either.
I
No.
think I could see them going D tackle maybe here because we are a little bit light on the inside and the interior defensive line. And as I said, we have strong edge rushers already. But
Mhm.
I think another compliment to that set of Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, who hasn't lived up to his potential so far, I think
Yeah,
could only be a good thing, and it would probably help Kayvon. But the thing I'm a little bit is in my mind as well is how the Giants have been reluctant to take anybody with some kind of injury issue. And it's come out in recent weeks that there's this issue with his foot. Now, I don't think it's been overly something that a lot of teams are concerned about, but it is a Giants thing to overblow an issue like that. And that's like a little bit of a concern for me.
I'm just waiting for them to pick. I'm looking through the list here, like who would be the weirdest player they could pick. They could pick Tyler Warren. He's a really good player. Tyler Warren's a
Yeah,
really good player, but it would be them to pick a tight end with the
yeah,
third overall pick.
it really would. And
Yeah.
that would honestly break my heart. So, but look, I think, yeah, we've kind of touched on the best three guys there. I mentioned D tackle. Do you think that Mason Graham is probably the best DT available?
Yeah, Mason Graham, I think, especially as an all-around player, is definitely the best because the rest of them, they're either a good run defender or they're a good pass rusher, and then there's the other side of their game is a bit of a weakness. But Mason Graham, I was listening to, I like to just listen to different podcasts, about different stuff just to hear other people's input, and one of them described him as just like basically a big ball of energy. Like he doesn't take a play off. I think he had an ankle injury the majority of this year, and he still had like all this power and strength going through, and he gets really good like pad level. So he's able to basically beat guys. He's able to beat pass rushers, to the punch, and he'll either break through and break up the run, or he'll break through and cause a little bit of pressure on the quarterback as well. And that's something as well he's only going to get better at as well. I think that ankle injury definitely didn't help him when it came to like real speed off the line, which is something you'd want more to get to the quarterback rather than getting to a running back, because they still have to wait for the hole to develop. So he'll be a really big player. I'd be interested, like I can't see him going past like the number 5 pick really, like, but either any of the Giants, Patriots, or Jaguars are going to pick him up, just because, especially you're looking at how good the Eagles did the past couple of years. A lot of that is built on defensive line pressure and having so many guys that they can swap in to those
Yeah.
positions. Just adding all these guys, has proved to be really important. And the Eagles spent their first round pick 2 years ago on Jalen Carter, and I'm not saying
Yeah,
he's as good as Jalen Carter is, but there's similarities, especially in how aggressive they are to try and get to the ball.
yeah.
The main one for me is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, man.
I'm just going to say, so even more on him. So you said you can't see him going past 5.
Yeah.
So if you don't see him going past 5, where do you see Austin Genty dropping to on top of that then kind of, or see him going ahead of him?
The problem, like literally the only problem Genty is probably the third or fourth best player in this draft, but his only problem, and it's the same for Tyler Warren at tight end, is that these guys are like some of the best players in this draft, but just their positions are just not valued enough. But the only thing is that we're seeing, especially this past year, how valuable having a good running back is, right? And I know that'll hurt a bit for you, James, to hear that, but it is true. And the only problem as well that he has is there's so many good running backs in this year's draft, but it looks like I can't see him if he falls to the Bears at 10.
Yeah,
The
that's an
Bears,
interesting
I
one in
think
my mind. I
they're
think
a
they
Mm,
could
team.
even trade up possibly for him.
Yeah,
yeah.
the only thing I'd have against them picking him is that they just need to like fix their offensive line even more than, they've added
Yeah,
amazingly on the interior of the offensive line, but the tackles are still a bit shaky. And if a player like a Membu or a Will Campbell fell to them, would I value taking one of those kind of top tackles over taking Ashton Genty? Like, that's the problem. But really, I do think, though, the most Cowboys thing ever is if he falls to 12, they're picking him. Like, I
yeah,
bet my house on it. Like, if he falls to them, they're gonna pick him, because it's the most Cowboys thing ever. I mean, they took Ezekiel Elliott, but
yeah,
it was probably like 8
Yeah.
years ago now, with a top 5 pick, and that obviously worked really well until they gave him the extension. But
yeah.
he's he's an amazing player. Literally the only problem that people have with him is that he just didn't show enough as a pass catcher. But the only problem I have with people saying that is you just don't get to see him that much as a pass catcher, because he's such a good runner, in between the tackles anyway. So there's no need
Mm.
to use him like that. I mean, he's one of the best players ever. I mean, he had the second best running back season ever after Barry Sanders, which is, that goes to show the level of that he's at.
There's absolutely nobody was slowing him down, so there's
Yeah.
no real need to that
Yeah,
strategy to look.
100%.
But I think, yeah, I'm sure, Shane, you'll be hoping that he's still there and the Jets would look at him. But I think with that
I
situation, I
don't
know
think so. Like,
Brees Hall took
I
a
would,
step back last year, so it's
yeah,
an interesting one.
Will Campbell, or like if Mason Graham was still there at 7, then I really would hope that the
Yeah.
Jets would be smart enough to take him. Like if he
Especially
did somehow fall to 7,
if you pair him with Quinnen Williams as well on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
defensive
exactly, it would
line,
be
like,
unreal.
yeah, you're not going to be able to run or do anything up the middle against them. Like, it's going to be really difficult.
I just think
They're like,
for me, I just can't see Vrabel letting him fall if he's still there. I think he'll want
yeah,
him a lot for that Patriots defense, even though they do need weapons, and I'm sure Patriots fans would love offensive talent to be added. But I think and a guy like him to the team just makes so much sense. I know Will Campbell is obviously a strong offensive tackle available. I don't know. The Jags do need to add in that position too. So God, there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah, and especially because in this year's draft, like, once you get to kind of about pick 12 or 13, a lot of the team needs are very similar, and there is a bit of a gap between the top one or two guys at every position, and then the next kind of 3, 4, 5 guys are all about a similar level, and it's just which type of player do you want. If you're looking at receivers, there's you know there's Travis Hunter and Tetero McMillan as kind of the top 2 receivers, right? And then you have a lot of slot guys or big outside receivers. There's no one who's kind of a good all rounder in there. Same with kind of your pass rushers. They're either a great speed rusher or a great power rusher, and then that's kind of it. So it's really what do you think this player has, from a developmental standpoint, as well as how do they fit into your team like that. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year, as well as some of the players getting picked this year as well are at less valuable positions. We already said about the tight ends, the running backs. There's some really good safeties in this year's draft, good linebackers in this year's draft. So it's gonna we're gonna see, I think, some players who maybe people have graded as kind of second round picks falling into the end of the first round, not because they're bad players, but because the positional value that those players might have is worth a first round pick, rather than picking a safety who is still going to be really good in the NFL, but I would rather spend my early second round pick on them.
Yeah. So
yeah.
what you're saying is that there's going to be an unbelievable player fall right into Howie Roseman's lap once again.
Probably, I think that just is guaranteed to happen no matter what the draft is. Or he'll just end up trading up for one. He'll probably trade up to, I don't know, whatever pick 23 with the Packers. Actually, no, the Packers, to be fair, since they're hosting the draft, they'll have to make their pick.
Yeah.
So, but there's someone. There's going to be, I think, especially at the end of the first round, there'll be a lot of chopping and changing of picks. In particular, I think a lot of the teams who are at the top of the draft will be wanting to maybe get another 1 or 2 players at the end of the first round.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're all really looking forward to draft day, and we really appreciate you coming on and kind of breaking down some of the top talent for everybody listening, and also kind of going into detail about what positions there's depth there, because I think that's quite an interesting one this time around. There's maybe not the big names since the quarterback class is a little bit weaker, but you have depth there, as you mentioned, in a lot of positions, including we have a lot of DTs and running backs available, which I'm really interested in seeing how these running backs pan out this year. But I think last thing I want to kind of round up on is there anyone you see being a very, very like sneaky talent that might slip into the second round that we might see in a couple of years' time?
Okay, yeah. So I have like a big like just list of players. So I'm going to run through just my list of players. It's like done quarterback, so it's through position, and like when I see a player, I'll just call it out. So like there obviously a quarterback, Jalen Milrow. He has like one of the highest ceilings that there could be. I think when it comes to like explosive runs from a quarterback, he has more explosive runs and explosive runs for touchdowns. He had more than Lamar Jackson, so he had the most of all time. The next one down is Lamar Jackson, so he's that level of athlete. I think he ran like a 4.3 something at his pro day. Like he's an
Wow.
insane athlete. He throws the ball like the way his deep ball is amazing. He just can't throw but if there's a pass between 5 and 15 yards, it's going to be an incompletion. Like he's such a weird player. But like so like you're watching him and you're like he's
Sits
amazing.
like a jet to me.
Yeah, if you watch honestly, if you watch the first half of his game against Georgia, you think he's like one of the best quarterbacks we'll have ever seen. And then if you watch his entire game against Oklahoma at the end of the year, a bad Oklahoma team, you'll think you think how is this guy even in consideration to go to the NFL? He's such a strange player. At running back, there's honestly like too many players to count. Like this is one of the best, considering last year was a horrible running back class. This year, like you're going to find a really good running back like when you get into the fifth round. Like that's how deep it is this year. Cam Scatterbo is probably he's going to fall a little bit further down than people might think, just because there's some workload concerns and injury concerns with him. But he's an amazing player. For wide receiver, my favorite player in this entire draft is Jaden Higgins. Because we had to watch a lot of Iowa State and Kansas State games this year, because they're obviously playing in Ireland next year. And him and the other wide receiver on the team, Jalen Noel, like they're gonna make some team very happy. There's a chance one of them might go late first round, but definitely like by the second round, both of them they'll be gone. I think they're two really really amazing players. On the offensive line, Josh Connerly, he might go late first round or early second round. He's from Oregon, very good offensive tackle, just like really solid all around. There's not really any weakness to his game, but he might not have the highest ceiling. But I think if he falls to the Chiefs, I think they'd be stupid not to take a player like him, especially with their offensive line need. There's Charles Grant. He played at a really small school, William and Mary. I think he only started playing football when he was like 17 years old, but he has a lot of people are kind of talking about him as a really impressive player. On the edge rushers, Donovan Razariku. So he's a defensive. I think he led the country in sacks last year, and he had like 80 tackles total. He had the most tackles for loss in the ACC this year. He played for Boston College. He's a really good player. He's a little bit shorter. I think he's about the same height as Abdul Carter, and he's basically like just a worse version of Abdul Carter is kind of the best way to put him. But I think he has a really high floor, and I think if you get the right team picks him up like late in the first round, he's gonna be a really good player, I think. And then a player who's got a lot of interest this part of the draft is Carson Schwessinger. So he's a linebacker from UCLA. He'll probably go in the second round, but so he's not very strong. He was like a walk-on, so he didn't even get a scholarship to play college football. He just kind of enrolled in the college and showed up to training and got on the team, and he didn't start until this year. And now he's going to be a second round pick, which is an incredible rise for him. But everyone has been talking about how smart a player he is. He interviewed really well, and even from watching him, you can see how quickly he diagnoses where runs are going to go, where passes are going to go, and he just has that extra step because he knows what's going on all around the field. And he's not going to be the best against the run, but if you have him in a pass possession, like he's going to do a really good job of covering the wide receiver or the tight end. And then if I'm just looking finally at some cornerbacks, Siobhan Ravel, So he was at East Carolina, and he was seen as kind of a top 10 pick before the year started, but he tore his ACL in like the second or third game this year. So there's no tape on him for this year, and he probably won't play until very early in the season. He might miss the first couple of weeks, but he's an amazing player. Like, played for a really small school, but he's like 6'3". I was listening to someone talk about him. They were like, basically, he said he had to like slow down how he runs when he was guarding receivers, because he would be faster than the receiver, and this guy's 6'3", and someone's probably going to get him in the late first, early second round. And you might have to wait for him to get healthy, but when he gets healthy, he's going to be a really good cornerback. So there's a lot of really good players that I'm looking for in this draft. And I think you're getting a lot of value for money. I think especially in the second and third round of this draft, you're going to see a lot of value for money. It's not like last year where kind of once you got to the fourth round or fifth round, a lot of the best players were taken. But this year, I think there's plenty of value for money.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks a million for breaking that down. Those are definitely names we're keeping an eye on. I like the sound of this
Yeah.
Ravel quarterback, our cornerback. I
Yeah.
think if the Giants were looking to go cornerback, which we do need to, if we didn't get Hunter, that might be something in the early second. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on, man. And yeah, sure. Best of luck at the draft. We'll be keeping an eye out for all your stuff. I'm gonna plug everything for Conall down below. We'll add all the links to his Instagram and things like that. So thanks again, and we'll chat to you again.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, man.
Okay, that was quality. We got a lot of breakdown on some prospects, the top guys, and also some people to look out for. So thanks again to Conall for that. We're gonna jump into the NBA, because as we were recording there with Conall, straight after it, he let us know that he got a notification that Mike Malone was fired from the Nuggets. So this is what we're going to hit today in the NBA, because this is just absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe it. 10-year head coach, obviously won the championship a couple of years back. GM Calvin Booth fired as well. So what do you think? What is the crack with this?
First of all, I'm mostly annoyed because I was really looking forward to talking about the Rockets, Joe Clinton, the two seed. I was like, I had everything written down, and then this popped up, and I was like, well, it's very hard to kind of skip past this now. I can't make sense of it. And second boot as well, it just makes it double strange, because apparently they weren't seen eye to eye. So it makes
No.
sense if one of them was fired and the other one was kept on, that would make sense, because then they'd be like they're going in one direction. But stacking
Yeah.
the two of them to bring in a full new structure is just, it's baffling. Like, I've 47 and 32, they're going to make the playoffs, obviously. Now they're going to be going into the playoffs with, apparently, with David Edelman, who was the assistant coach, who's never had a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Like, whatever about what the Grizzlies did last week, this is 100 times worse than what the Grizzlies did, because like, I was afraid of the Nuggets going into this. Like, I thought they were good chance of winning this. Like, as an outside better, definitely reaching like conference finals. You can rule
Yeah.
them out now. You can pretty much rule them out, because
Honestly, yeah.
just it's madness. It's absolute madness. I just can't get my head around this.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make sense, like you said, that they went double. Like, you either go one way or the other if two lads aren't seeing eye to eye. It's another kind of thing with the Kings, like earlier in the season, when they were saying, which now apparently isn't true, but they were saying that De'Aaron Fox and Mike Brown weren't seeing eye to eye. So then they fired Mike Brown, and then they traded away Fox
Yeah,
then, like, shortly after. So it's like you're doing one or the other. But this, I think now it's come out a little bit. Some of the things I said to you guys yesterday, that when that came out, I was like, "There's going to be stuff coming out about this, because this isn't like usually with the Jenkins one, you'd expect something after to be like, oh, this was happening,' but they just ultimately were going to do that at some stage, and they did it.
yeah.
But with this one, it's ultimately like, what is going on? Like, something has to go wrong, has to be going wrong. So I think I saw a couple of reports that the reason obviously Booth was fired is because there's absolutely no depth in the roster. Like, they let Caldwell Pope go, they didn't replace him at all. Then they let other key pieces like Bruce Brown and Jeff Green go, who were part of that like championship winning team. But then there was this talk that Christian Brown, who has taken a step up this year, but other guys like Strawder, are going to step up into this team and make that leap. But they haven't, and they haven't the depth there. as we talked a couple of weeks ago about Murray, he's not pulling his weight.
at all.
Jokic isn't happy with the squad. So kind of it's like, okay, then maybe this does make sense, but not now. As we kind of talked with Jenkins, now is a bad time, and this is doubly bad because these lads just won a title 2 years ago. It's not like Jenkins, who's been there for yonks and hasn't done a thing.
Yeah, like that is the strangest part. It's that he's been there for 10 years. Like, give him. It's another. It's probably 6 weeks left. I don't know how long is left in the season. It's not that long. Give him. We'll say give him the 2 months to the end of the season, and
Mm,
then like sack him when the
yeah,
season's done. You have a winning record. You're in the playoffs. You're not even looking at a play-in. You're secure. I'm pretty sure you're top four secure. Maybe not because there's a lot of teams on the same record, but like everything is in place for you to have a good end to the season, and then reassess
yeah.
in the summer. Like sacking the head coach and the GM this late in the year, it's baffling. It really is baffling. Like, it makes no sense
But
for him to do. Like I
you've
know
already
they're
started your draft process as well, which is madness because you just sacked your GM and you have your draft process in place already. Like,
yeah. Like if you're going to sack him, then you do it a while ago. If you're going to sack your head coach, wait till the end of the season. Like you don't do them both at the end of August. There's 3 games left in the regular season.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, no,
can
doesn't
someone
make
explain to
any
me?
sense.
Like I understand they have been quite average without Jokic, and Jamal Murray hasn't stood up. But Joe, as you said when we were talking about him, that the potential he has, he should be able to stand up, but he just hasn't stood up. And I understand that, but like the job
Yeah,
that Mike Malone was doing with him, this year, I think for the players he had, so the fact that there's so many players injured at the moment, it's I'd say the fans are just angry, confused.
yeah.
Just I'd be fuming if I was a Nuggets fan because your playoff hopes are just non-existent now. Forget about it. Like there's no point even going.
Yeah, I think there is no I think there's no real hope for them now because it's just blown the whole thing up, and it's not even the chance of like even with the Grizzlies, you could say okay, they had this guy in the background who maybe didn't have much
Mm,
control. He has his own ideas, and then they just brought him in. But this situation now with Adelman in, he's like the assistant coach. They're going to be playing the same way. It's still not going to work. And as you mentioned, they probably would have got a top four seed because I think they had the tiebreaker over a number of teams, even if they did finish on the same record.
yeah,
So this season has been madness with some of the stuff, like not even on the court that's happened. These two firings, the Mike Brown one earlier in the season, some of the trades we saw, like it's been nuts. And but there was some quotes after the Blazers game. I think it was like a month ago that I thought were really telling of how he felt and maybe laid the groundwork to something like that. But like he said after that game, I don't think we played with any pride tonight. My job is to evaluate how they take things. My job is to be honest, sometimes brutally honest. Tonight was a brutally honest message that the guys are full of shit. He said they'll say the coach is tripping. The guys that really do care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches their film. So we'll have to show them the film. And I said, if somebody disagrees with me, please speak up. And nobody said a word. So I'm not really concerned with how they took my message. My thing is being honest, and that's how just how we played. Like, what on earth is that to say after a game? And
yeah,
at the time, I was like, okay, he's being super harsh. He's just throwing things out there. But now looking back on it, he literally just said that the players don't watch the tape and that they don't put in the effort.
yeah. He was basically saying there that yeah, these guys don't want this. Is basically what they're saying.
Yeah,
And sometimes you do that as a kind of like you give them a kick up the hole kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'll say this now and they'll go and they're like, oh, I'm going to go prove him wrong now. And then they'll go on a five
yeah,
game winning streak. Whereas looking back now, it looks like he was saying it and meant every word that they actually just didn't
yeah,
care. Like they didn't care. They
yeah,
want to be there. And like maybe, as you said, something will come out about this, and it could be that it comes out and he said, I want to go. He's like, he might have told them he wants to go at the end of the season. They're like, no, just go now.
yeah,
Something like that
maybe.
could come out. It could be something like that where he's just like, I'm not bringing this shower of clowns into the playoffs now. I don't want to do it. Like, so it could be that as well. But
Yeah,
I don't know. We
yeah,
just
I
have to
think
wait and
so.
see.
We'll have to find out, but like, no, I think, and I think there's a lot of stuff that he was kind of giving Murray and Jokic a bit of preferential treatment. You can understand Jokic, best player in the world, but like
Yeah.
Murray, those things that he said from the outside seem like they apply to Murray, but maybe not. So I don't know. It's absolutely nuts. But if you don't have anything else on that absolute bit of madness, we'll move on to Gan Seans.
Yeah. I just one last thing. So I just think like their schedule to end the season is Pacers at home, Kings away, Grizzlies at home, Rockets away. Like they could
Mm,
very easily win three, if not four of them. Like the Rockets have the two seeds kind of clinched now, so they might rest a couple of lads for the last game. They'll give Reed Shepherd a start. Like they could very easily still get the three seed. Definitely the four
yeah,
seed is still there for them. And to fire your head coach at this stage now with those four games left is just it's
yeah,
maddening. It's like you remember when Brighton sacked Chris Hughton and everyone was up in arms. They're like, how on earth have they made this decision? So it's worked out for them in the end, and maybe this will work out for them in the end as well. But it's one of
yeah.
those that no one can understand the reasoning behind it at the time.
No, not at all. And actually, nicely leading into Gan Seans, I was going to pick them against the Rockets on Sunday because there's a 5 game gap right now.
Yeah,
But now I don't trust them a bit because even though I do think the Rockets will rest guys because obviously they have the 2 seed sewn up, I don't trust that these guys are going to be playing in any way of a good mindset. So
no,
I was just like, no, I can't add that in
yeah,
anymore. But we dropped 2 duck eggs last week again, really bad.
yeah,
Two
impressive.
2 zeros for us. So you're still 9 points in the lead, and the league is slowly ticking towards an end. So I need to get my skates on here a bit.
Yeah,
So do you want me to go ahead and give mine?
yeah. I'll let you go first this week as they
Cool.
catch the chaser.
Yeah, I'm going with Palace to beat City away on Saturday. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is with all the talk I was doing about Palace last week. They're 9-2, and City are 8-15. So I think it's a pretty good price to be honest. 4.5 to 1 for Palace.
Mm.
Worth a bet as well, just outright because it's such a good price. But they've only lost once since the new year, since Christmas. So look, I think they're worth a shout here, and I do fancy them. I think they're very good at the moment. And City mixed bag all season, and they barely put any bit of effort in against United. So I think Palace could catch them on the hop here. Then I've gone with 2 NBA games. I've gone with a bit of a tactical thing here. So I've gone with the Knicks at home against the Cavs on Friday night. So the Knicks have 50 wins, Cavs have 63. That's at after midnight on Friday. So going into Saturday. And then I've also gone for the Pacers, who are playing at the Cavs, but that's on Sunday at 6. Pacers 48 wins. So I was like, I was thinking of doing the Knicks game because it's at home, and I think they'll finish out the season with a win at home, and the Cavs might be cruising, and then going with the Nuggets game. But then I didn't trust them, so I was like, let me double up on Cavs losses, and hopefully one of them at least comes up. So that was my tactic there. But what have you got?
So because of my multiple duck eggs over the last couple of weeks, I've gone back to what served me so well earlier in the season. I've gone two football and one basketball this week. I also have Palace to beat City.
Nice.
There's just something about them, about Palace at the moment. I actually, when I saw they were 5-1 and City were 4-9, so they
Mm,
have gone out further than when you saw them. But
God.
I just think 5-1 is a great price for Palace. And I just said City were horrendous last weekend, and Palace just have pace. They have players, people who like to run, people who work hard. Like I can see him catching City, as you said. There's no point me repeating what you said. Like I'm kind of pretty much the same point as that's why you took picked them. Um, I've gone for United to beat Newcastle.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it really stood out to me when I saw it. There was just something there about it. United are 15-4, Newcastle 4-6.
Yeah.
United have been like they've been getting better. We've been talking for the last couple of weeks saying that they're getting better, they're getting better. All they're missing is
Yeah.
kind of someone to
Yeah.
put the ball in the net. But Joshua Xerxes is beginning to look like he's actually a footballer and not just related to one. So if he starts again, I don't see why not. Newcastle, I'm still waiting for Newcastle to have their post Carabao Cup crash. It's
I
going.
just realized you picked against them now two
Yeah,
weeks in a row.
I think I picked Leicester to beat them, and yeah, that worked out well. I'm just going. I think if they beat United this week, then I'll just have to leave them alone and just say fair enough. They're going to get top five.
Yeah.
And lastly, I've gone for a real top of the table clash in the NBA. I've gone for the Wizards to beat the 76ers. The Wizards are 17 and 62, and
Oh man.
your 76ers are currently 23 and 56. The
Yeah, that'll
76ers,
happen without
yeah,
doubt.
the Sixers are going to want to lose more than the Wizards want to lose. I don't care about
Oh
the
yeah.
records, like so. Yeah, that's what I've
12
gone with.
losses in a
Wizards to
row,
beat the
lads. It's just
Sixers.
quality basketball.
Impressive, yeah. So, yeah, two really, really good teams there. Can't wait to stay up till all hours on Saturday night and watch it.
Oh man. No, that one is a good one actually. I think just morally I couldn't pick the Wizards to beat the
Yeah,
Sixers, but
oh,
I think
absolutely, yeah.
that's probably a lock right now.
It's probably a banker, yeah.
But yeah, no, I like your 3 picks to be honest. The only worry I have about United way, I didn't go for them. One, I went for them last week and I didn't want to do it again. But second one is because of the Leon game, and I think they'll put a lot into that. And yeah, possibly. But look, we'll see. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But thanks for supporting United. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Happy to do it.
So we'll get into another Premier League team now. So the team I picked to talk about this week in the football was Aston Villa. I think they're just in an intriguing situation. Not that there's anything overly interesting to me about them right now. Obviously, they've been on the radar for a while, and we've talked about a few of their players. But I just think the situation they're in is an interesting one. So, looking at the table here, they're 2 points off top five, which is good enough for Champions League this season. So 7 games left in the league. They've got a pretty tough run. They have Southampton away, which is handy, but then they've got Newcastle at home, City away, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Spurs at home, and United away. So after Southampton, I wouldn't say any of them are easy games. Then on top of that, we've got PSG. They're playing them tonight, actually. So we're recording on the Wednesday. So they're actually playing them tonight. And that first leg is away. And I think if they get battered tonight, they might set their morale up very badly going into the rest of the season, because they have the FA Cup 2 away at Palace. And as you know, I've talked about Palace a bit. But where do you see their season going? Like, do you think, what chances do they stand in either cup? And where do you think they'll end up in the league?
But the FA Cup is at Wembley, I'm pretty sure, and its semi-finals are at Wembley, so I don't think it is in. I don't
Oh,
think it is in
apologies. Yeah,
Sellers
yeah,
Park.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well, London
like,
game, so
yeah,
less
yeah, true.
traveling.
Yeah. I actually spoke to a Villa fan when I realized we were doing Villa, and I asked him like would he rather win the FA Cup? Wally was his name. Just he wanted to shout out. But I asked him if he'd take the FA Cup win over the top four, and he said that he personally would, because he's never seen Villa lift a trophy in his lifetime, bar the
Yeah,
Championship playoff. He said that he would definitely take winning the FA Cup, and I can see him getting knocked out by PSG and then kind of cruising along in the league, but given their all in that FA Cup to try and get to the final at least.
mm,
I think Palace it's a decent enough tie from I love Palace. They've said this numerous times since January how much you love them, but if Villa really wanted, and Emery is just special in cup competition, so I can see them
yeah,
going out and getting to that final, and whoever they play from the other side of the draw, I'd make them favourites if they did get to the final. In terms of their Premier League run, it's disgusting, to be perfectly honest, really, isn't it? Like outside of after Southampton game, as you said, nothing is easy. Newcastle pushing for top four, Man City
yeah,
pushing for top four, Bournemouth pushing for Europe, Fulham still pushing for Europe, Spurs pushing to get top half. They're not playing a single team that's on the beach, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
They're not playing anyone who's relegated, no one who's marooned in 12th. Every single game they have means something. And
yeah,
that's hard with 10 games to go. Sorry, 7 games in the league and the three
yeah,
cup games. But
yeah.
that it's a tough time for him.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of games too, and like obviously they have a good number of players in their squad now, but like they had to go to the loan market in
Mm,
January to fill a big enough gap. Now I think they've done it very successfully, and because look, we've already gone into detail on Rodgers earlier in the season, how good he is. He's their standout guy to me. He's just exceptional. But looking at what they've done, like Rashford obviously has been improved to what he was doing at United this season, but that's Rashford. Like he will put in the effort when he wants to, but I
yeah,
think the English media has overblown how well he's played. Like he scored 3 goals and 2 were against Preston, and I saw a headline that was like informed striker, and you're like, lads, come on, let's tone it
mm,
down a bit. Like this is the problem, like because now you give him too much and he doesn't want to work for it. Just let him play and see what happens, because he can do way more than what he's done so far. I know I've
100%.
seen it firsthand. Like, but the one for me is Asensio. I think what a pickup! Like 8 goals and 1 assist in 11 games across all competitions. He's able to play because of the UEFA rules. He's able to
Yeah,
play against PSG, which is very nice. So I like that. I like that you're able to play against your parent club. Like it's pretty funny seeing them line up in another jersey and they're only on
yeah.
loan. But I think that I think that he's been really good, very good creatively for other players. Although he hasn't got many assists, he's still, I think he makes good runs that opens up space for other people too. He knows he's a top level player. Basically, he knows what
He's
to do.
just he's absolutely top tier. He really is. Like, he's so good to watch. He's always been good to watch. He was so good to watch in Madrid. I know he kind of PSG kind of wastes him, to be honest, but he loves playing football, and he shows it every single time he steps on the pitch. I still
Yeah,
love Morgan Rogers. I think he is another lad. He's not top level, yes. He's not top level. He's good, but he is going to get to that level as well. My
he's
biggest
only
worry
going
for
up.
them, yeah, exactly. My biggest worry for them is the games they're playing. I know they have a big squad, but outside of like Watkins and Asensio, like who's scoring their goals really? Like their top scorer is
Yeah,
Watkins with 13.
and if they're putting
Look,
Rashford up front, which they have been doing,
yeah,
that doesn't work.
it
So
doesn't. No, he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be out in the wing
no,
for some
yeah,
reason. But yeah, I'd love to see them win that FA Cup. Them or Palace, whoever wins out of that side. I know I'm been chopping and changing over and back from Forest because I think it would just make Forest incredible season, just one of the best they'll ever have. But I'd love to see Villa win it
yeah,
because I think they deserve something for the last two seasons they put in. Like the way they've played in the Champions League this year is something to be admired as well. Like so,
yeah, yeah. They put
and
on the really good effort against a lot of the big boys. Like in
yeah,
fairness to them.
and I love Emery. So all the nonsense he got in Arsenal. And he's now proved like he's a better manager than this. I know they did the job last night, but he's a better manager
Here
than
we go.
Arteta is. Oh, I can't stand Arteta.
I knew you were gonna go in with that.
Oh, I
Oh
just
lad. He
himself
was
in
so
that.
happy as well after the game last night. Oh, the smirk on his
Oh,
face. I was like, oh, lads.
himself in
You've
that
come
set
such a
piece
long way
coach.
from when the set piece got. Yeah, this is off topic, but last night I
Yeah,
said to you, this set piece, like Arsenal were so good last night against Madrid, but the set piece coach, right? He's standing in the square where the manager is supposed to stand, and they're just taking a free kick
it's a
that's in
direct
front of
free
the
kick.
goal. It's a
It's a direct
direct
free
free
kick.
kick.
He's not
What are you
crossing
telling
it.
him?
Yeah,
And
he's
then
not
and
crossing
then
it.
Rice after the game on Prime goes, oh, he was telling me to cross it, and they were telling me to do this, and I was just like, nah, I'll just do my own thing. So why are you standing there? Sit back down on the bench, man. Just
Yeah,
sit down
he's
on the
there
bench.
with doing this with his hand, like swerve it. He's
Yeah.
like, stop.
And then you're like, he's gonna get all the plaudits for these like outrageously good free kicks. No, 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 I'm not having that. But
No,
anyway, back to Villa.
back to
Two more
Villa.
players I want to touch on really
Go on.
quickly is their two more loan players they've got. So I thought the Sassy was an interesting one when they got him in. He's
Mm,
looked solid in the games he started, so I like that. And then also Matson, I think he's so good. I would have loved United to have signed him. Obviously, they didn't go down that route last summer. I thought they might have went for that on a loan. I think they were looking, but he was so good at Dortmund,
Dortmund.
and
Yeah.
now like playing in the Champions League final, and now he's there at Villa. He took a while to break into the team, but
Yeah,
since he has
I was
done,
just going to
he's
say
been
that
excellent.
this, yeah, like it took a while for him to get going. I was like, oh, have they kind of thrown 35 million at the wall here and it's not going to stick? But
Yeah,
he's a quality operator, like and they've two good left backs because Luka Dean is a good player as well.
he is.
And
Yeah,
Joe have the
yeah,
option to swap, like I'd have him at Liverpool as well because Jesus Costa Shimikas drives me insane every time he takes to the pitch. Like so,
yeah,
having someone like Matson to swap in with Robertson would have made a big difference in
yeah,
the PSG game, for example. Like having Matson there instead of Shimikas come on. He's very, very forward thinking, very good runner with the ball.
yeah. He's very creative. He could almost be a
Mm.
strong a winger, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I really like him. I really like him. And Emery really dislike Arteta. And I hope Aston Villa win the FA Cup.
So let's make a final stance. So obviously we both do think PSG are going to go through.
Yeah.
There, we
Yeah.
kind of discussed that previously, but I'm still going to go with Palace in the cup. I just like the run that they're on, but I think the point that it would be great to see them win a trophy. Obviously, that's so understandable, and
Yeah.
that's more like important for fans to have that moment of glory. But I honestly don't see them getting through that Palace game just because of the way I could honestly they could come out and they'd have such a great game plan, but I just think the way Palace played recently and how they played against them like only a couple of weeks back, that's just still in my mind. But I think they will push up and they'll keep in the Europa League spots in the league. They might even push into fifth if they click into another gear. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a really interesting situation that it could go mad and they could topple PSG and you have an all English semi final. Then if Arsenal manage to do the business, and that would be nuts. But that is my opinion. I think it's a little bit negative, obviously, for any Villa fans out there, but I
Yeah,
think they've had a great season. I just think that they're in a lot at once now, and it's all coming together.
yeah. For me, I think they'll finish sixth.
Yeah,
I think of the four teams there, so Chelsea, Newcastle, City, Villa, there's 2 points between them. I think Chelsea are the one that will fall away out of those four,
yeah,
and
me too.
I think Villa will get to the FA Cup final. I
Okay,
don't want to I don't want to say if they'll win or not because I don't want to talk about Forest or City because that just sends my mind into a spin. But I think they get to the FA Cup final and I think they finish sixth. And if they do that, even if they lose to PSG, then I think it's back to back brilliant seasons from if they get
yeah,
a trophy in Europa League this year.
yeah, and it's already been such a good season. So
Mm.
let's see how they get on next season and which lads they bring in permanently. So that'll be an interesting one. But do you want to go ahead with your player for the week?
Yeah, so it'll actually only be a quick one, thankfully, because we've done quite a lot of talking already this week. But I just wanted to just have a quick word on Rodrigo Muniz at Fulham. I
Mm,
hadn't really watched too much of Fulham, like happy to put my hands up and say that, just haven't had a chance. But what he did to Liverpool on Sunday, especially for that goal, like I thought he was brilliant start to finish. He ran Kanate and Van Dijk into the ground. That his touch for that goal is out of this world. It's one of the best
that's
touches I've seen this
so
season.
good.
It puts him in so much space out of nowhere. So I just said I'd just look him up and have a look at his stats and see Joe, is he this flash in the pan or was he this good last year as well? And I think
Yeah.
it's safe to say he was solid last year though for his first year in the Premier League. He got 10
Mm,
goals. He's 11th to fire this year. He's strong. He can be a bully when he needs to be a bully. He can be silky as we saw when he needs to be silky. I think the price they paid for him was 8 million. I think for 8 million they've gotten a steal. And when they
yeah.
do eventually sell him, it'll be upwards of 40 million anyway, because that's what they paid for Emil Smith Rowe. So they'll definitely get 40 million for him. I just think he is really, really good. 23, plenty of time to grow. Learning
Mm,
from Jimenez, who's one of the best bullies the Premier League has seen up until his head injury. So
yeah.
I think he's going places.
Yeah, I think the age definitely helps me agree with your point on the price. Like right now, I wouldn't see that being like a proper price from over 40 million. But the fact he's young, and I think if he got another season in the league, then I could see him going for up to that. Now, kind of along the lines of you, I haven't watched a whole lot of Fulham like match of the day bits, but last season I watched a good few of their games because I was kind of interested by them last season. They were just a bit mad. I think they were winning a lot of games at home and they were doing really badly away. So I was like
Yeah,
watching them when they were at home. But I think I remember, I'm not sure if this is right, but I think in his first game I was watching and I think he had to come off with injury and he started crying. And I was like, okay, I like this because he has like a lot of passion for.
yeah.
He wanted to prove himself in the league, and he got his first chance. And then I think when he scored his first goal, I'm pretty sure he started crying as well. So I was like, this guy has passion for the game. Now, last season, I did think he played a bit of headless chicken ball at times, like running around a lot with no like real aim to the game. He needed to polish, and I do think that working with Jimenez, like you mentioned, is like such a benefit to a guy like him.
Massive, yeah.
He's going to show him what to do because he has a good body shape. He's strong. He's fast. Now Jimenez is able to guide him. I think that's a great point, but I still think he's very unpolished. Like I
He's
watched
very
the
raw. Yeah,
Arsenal I watched the Arsenal and Fulham game last week, midweek game, and he came on with like 15 minutes left. He got a goal, but it took a massive deflection, and he missed an open goal like 5 minutes before that, like an absolute sitter. And I was like thinking, if you're only going to get your 15 minutes here, you need to be burying that. So he is far from the finished product, but he has a lot of good talent and a lot of good attributes, like you mentioned. And look, 11 goals this season and seven have come in his last 11 games.
yeah.
So he's ramping up nicely. And yeah, I think he's an interesting player to talk about because I wonder will he continue to go higher and higher? Will he get a few more this season and then maybe push even close to 20 next season?
Yeah, so the thing for me was like, I'm glad you brought up the point there about how many goals he has. I think you said seven in his last 11. Because
Yeah.
even last year, he was a very streaky player. Because he won the Premier League Player of the Month for March last year. Because he went on a
Mm.
run of scoring in 4 or 5 games in a row as well, and then just kind of stops. But like when Liverpool signed Sadio Mane, Southampton fans were saying that he was a streaky player, that he wouldn't be able to go and score 20 goals in a season, and then look what he did then at Liverpool. Like so, like if he
Yeah,
has that same kind of a trajectory, then you could have a serious player on your hands because he's strong, he's tall, quick, he can finish clearly, he has a good touch also clearly. Like
yeah,
I think he'll definitely give Fulham another season, if not another 2 seasons, and then kind of see where he is at 25 and see where he's going. I think that's
yeah.
the smart thing to do.
I think he needs to start as well, like consistently. And I hope he does next season because even now that this run he's been on, like I said, he didn't even start in that Arsenal game. So, he kind of does need to start, and it's tough. Obviously, a
Mm.
lot of teams play one striker right now. So I would really like to see him consistently starting. And yeah, I think he's a good player for a mid table Premier League team right now. And then he might take that step up in a couple of years. But yeah, I think he is moving in the right direction. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
an interesting player to talk about, like someone you wouldn't really think too much of. But I
Mm.
think even last year, like you mentioned, when he won that at the end of the season, he went on
Started
a run,
crying.
and yeah, and then but then at the end at the start of this season, when people are building their fantasy teams, he was one of those ones people I think
Yeah.
were thrown in because
He was like
he was
five
good at
million
the
or
end of
something.
last
Yeah.
year,
He
yeah,
was five
but then
million
he
start
did
of
nothing.
season. Yeah.
And then now he's coming good again, so it's kind of hard to. It's a funny one to keep a look at.
Mm.
But actually, before we move on to the power rankings, just wanted to shout myself out on fantasy because Shane was top of our league right earlier in the season, just flying away, and I was dead rock last. It was a good couple of 100 points, I think, between us, and James has slowly edged his way back up. The two of us are sitting now like third and fourth, are we?
I honestly I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you last time I
Yeah,
even looked at this. So
I
I'll
just
just I'll have
overtook
to borrow your
absolute.
superior
Yeah, no, no,
knowledge.
no, no. Look at this. You're this fella like talking. Last time we looked at it, he's absolutely glued to it. He's just dying inside that I'm ahead of him. So yeah, I've taken the Shane man down right now. He's probably going to come back now. He's going to make it his mission to overtake
I
me before
actually
the end
am
of the
now.
season.
I've 7 game weeks left now to get past Teddy. I'd probably have 20 free transfers to use there by the time I go into it again now. So
I
you're in
think I'm
trouble.
like I think I'm only like 20 points ahead of you. I only just overtook you this week, but yeah, I was just holding on to that one.
I've had Mo Salah captain for whole season, and he's forgotten what a football looks like at the moment. It seems he can't even get a touch of it at the moment. So I might have to change it up this weekend. So
Yeah, he's been pretty poor to be honest.
mm.
Last few weeks. But do you want to get into your power rankings? Throw us out your last week one and what you've got for this week.
Yeah, will do. So last week I had the Thunder, the Rockets, the Celtics, top three. Then I had Liverpool breaking up the NBA runaway, and then I finished up with the Warriors and first and last. This week, I have a new team at top spot.
Oh,
They
I
say
know who it is.
if you're going to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Oh Lord.
And the Rockets beat the Thunder. So the Rockets are now the best team in basketball, 15-2 in their last 17. Amen Thompson is just he's my hero and he's 10 years younger than me. I think they're brilliant. Going into the playoffs on a
Ten.
great run of form. I absolutely love them. They're the best team in basketball now at the
More
moment.
than 10. Be generous to yourself here.
Yeah, I'm going to look him up in a second. But when you're giving out your nonsense now in a second, I'll look him up and see how much younger than me he actually is. So the Rockets are at one. The Thunder are still they're number two now. They've only dropped one. They're still good. They're still the best team in basketball. All jokes aside, they're still 8-2 in their last 10. The Rockets are just better than them at the moment, so that's fine. They will probably win it out though. In fairness, I have Palace in a third. What
Oh,
they're doing.
nice.
They're on the most Palace run of all time. Their record is 11 wins, 10 draws, 9 losses. They're going to finish like it's going to be like 13-13-11 or 13-13-12 or something. They love doing that as well.
Yeah.
They've 4 wins in their last five. They're just quality. Liverpool have slipped. No, they haven't slipped. They were four last week. Liverpool stay fourth for me. They're still 4 wins in their last five, but they're just really not playing very well. I know they're going to win the league, but they don't really deserve
Mm-hmm.
to be top three at the moment. Then finishing out Celtics 9-1. Anyone who plays them in the playoffs is going to be scared because the trees they put up is just scary. They're absolutely unreal. And Forest stay in sixth. 3 wins
Nice.
at five. They're 4 points clear of the team in fourth. And I think, as we said, they're fourth down to six. They're going to be fighting with each other and not fighting with Forest. I think they're safe for the year now. I think they'll stay third.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, nice one. Rockets first. Yeah, you can't knock it with the run they're on, like, and the teams they've just beaten recently. like beating the Warriors so well and keeping Steph quiet and then beating the Thunder is just so good. But last week I had Thunder first, then Newcastle, Celtics, Liverpool, Rockets, and Palace. So this week, what I've done is I've kept the Rockets in for, or the Thunder in first. So I was gonna drop them out, and I was like, okay, if they lose last night against the Lakers,
Mm.
I'll put them down a spot. But then they won that game. I think, yeah, a blip of having two losses doesn't take away the last few weeks and months of madness that we've seen for me. But look, yeah, two losses is a good enough reason to drop them down like you've done. But I just didn't go that way. I've gone and kept Newcastle in second because honestly, what I noted here was that they're so close to Forest with a win. Like if they win their next game, they'll be what'll they be? They'll only be a point behind Forest with their game in hand if they win that. And Forest are having an outrageous season. Yeah, Newcastle have also already won a cup. So like I think they deserve a lot of credit for what they've done this season. I've gone then moved the Rockets up, so they're in third for me now. So 8-2 run, beating the Warriors and OKC. Everything you've said. Celtics are in fourth, so they just dropped down one, but that was just to accommodate how good the Rockets have been. Celtics have been so good, really think they've been just out of this world. Palace have moved up to fifth for me from sixth. They had another win, so I think just continuing the run, we have to move them up now. We can't just leave
Yeah.
them in sixth. But then in sixth place, a new entry. Liverpool can do one. They're gone out of my rankings for this week. I've got the Pacers in because I've been really impressed with the back half of their season. In particular, Tyrese Halliburton, he's been so good, and they've won 5 in a row now. They're 8-2 in their last 10, so that rounds out my top 6. I just wanted to point the reason now that I've put Liverpool out. It's not to be biased, but I'm going on like ultimate like. So
Form.
we're looking right at power, but we have been given the benefit of like the whole season too in hindsight at times. But like right now, I was just like, lads, like it's been a couple of months since I've been impressed with watching Liverpool.
They were
Like,
very close to me dropping them out as well, to be perfectly honest with you. Like they were lucky to stay in this week because there's a lot of NBA teams who were doing a lot more than Liverpool are. Like you
mm,
know, they lost the cup final, they were awful against Fulham. They weren't really good against Everton either. So if they kind of
no,
keep up this run of even if they beat West Ham, but it's a dodgy win against West Ham, then they mightn't be in there for me either next week. I completely
yeah,
see why you're doing it. They're not very powerful at the moment.
and even the Wolves game and even the Southampton game, to be honest,
Yeah,
weren't convincing for me. Like, not they won the game, so ultimately they got the points, but like it's just not the same as it was earlier in the season. But I suppose you can't be consistently like the best team in Europe like constantly. So that's what they were for the first 6-7 months of the
6 months.
season.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my rankings this week. I don't have anything else, so do you wanna we'll wrap it up there. But
Yeah,
once
just
again, just to
one
say,
one really quick one for you, and I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks back, but there's still no team in the Premier League this year who's won 5 games in a row.
so crazy. Like,
It's mad. I can't like Liverpool had a chance this weekend and lost to Fulham.
mm.
Like there's no how everyone has gone a whole season without winning 5 in a row.
It's funny that
It's
happened right after
it's
you mentioned it as well. That they had the chance and it didn't
yeah,
come off.
yeah. So
That's
mad.
Yeah, it's madness. That is really, really mad. We'll be watching now into next season. I don't know if it'll happen by the end of this season. We'll be definitely watching into next season when it does happen again.
Yeah,
Shows the openness of the league at times. Like it's kind of looking at the league the way it is, how tight it is just below top four, and then we have how tight the West is in the NBA. It's kind of like
yeah,
some parallels there, so it's pretty
yeah.
interesting if
Absolutely.
you follow both sports. But thanks again to Conall for coming on. Really appreciate it. He has you all set up nicely now for the draft, so you
Yeah,
have some names and to look out for. I think me and Shane will probably do a bit of a mock the week before ourselves, maybe of the top 5 or 10, just to take what knowledge we've got and throw it out there. Maybe throw some trades in there for the
yeah.
laugh. Thanks for everyone listening. Really appreciate it. I'll throw it to you, Shane, to wrap up.
Yeah, just if you wouldn't mind, just keep liking, watching the reels, do whatever you can because we really do appreciate it. Like every time we get a notification saying your reel has 1,000 views, it just puts a smile on both of our faces. I'm sure it does for me anyway. So just
Yeah.
keep watching, keep listening, keep following, and we'll talk to you next week.
Cheers, lads. Talk to you later.